Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Football Alumni of Michigan Virtual Tailgate. This is produced in partnership with the University of Michigan Alumni Association, along with the U of M clubs that are co-sponsoring today, which include the clubs from Baltimore, Houston, Northern New Jersey, and Los Angeles. So early good morning for everybody on the West Coast. But before we get into the virtual tailgate, let me introduce Jason Cummings from FAM to help everyone understand what the Football Alumni of Michigan is all about. Jason?
Hey, thanks, Bruce. I'd like to welcome everyone to what is our fourth virtual tailgate. So we're doing really well this season. We thank you for all the support. But before we get started, I just wanted to share a little bit about FAM. FAM is a nonprofit organization founded solely by football players for football players. And we just got a few things we like to focus on. One is empowerment, then engagement, and uniting the football alumni base. And we really try to do a great job of representing all eras of players and coaches, and you'll see that in our broadcast. So, you know, as students at Michigan, as football players and student athletes, we all really enjoyed the ecosystem of, you know, game day, which included, you know, fans, it included players, and included alumni. So what we're doing is recreating some of that unity between the alumni base and former football players, and really just trying to make the most of the season and the most of the interaction. A couple of things that we've got is the TAP program, that's teammate assistance. So Craig Dunaway, who runs that part of the committee, he'll be discussing that. And then we've also got a mentoring program that we do with current players. So just want to welcome you guys to the tailgate. Today we've got William James, Craig Dunaway. We've got some 1997 teammates and club leaders. So let's have a good time and let's go blue.
Thanks, Jason. You know, and today Michigan is playing Penn State here at Michigan Stadium. It's going to even be a little bit different today because there's going to be nobody in the stands. Because of the COVID-19 rules within the state of Michigan, there will not even be any fans of any sort. So even the families are not going to be in today's game. So it's going to be a little bit different, as this whole year has been, as 2020 has been extremely different. But before we get into it, I'm going to introduce a couple of guys. First, let me introduce Craig Dunaway. Before we get into Craig Dunaway, let's show some video of him, and let's see what it looks like to play. They did wear masks back then. I do know that.
On this third down, Smith looks over the middle, got his man Dunaway, touchdown. But he went to the tight end. Smith looking, got it, touchdown. Craig Dunaway. Little option fake and over the middle, wide open, Dunaway, touchdown. Craig Dunaway, the tight end, was wide open for that touchdown reception of 27 yards.
Hey, good to have Craig on board. Craig, good to see you.
Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Looks like
I'm going to tell you, Craig has done a lot really here, not only with FAM, but in the Ann Arbor area. He's now, right now, the Vice President and Director of Client Services for Parrish Advertising Design in Ann Arbor. His son, Jack, committed here to the University of Michigan as a preferred walk-on in 2015. And his younger son, Carter, committed to Princeton in 2017. So we'll go from there. And, you know, I want to remind everybody, if you have some questions, go ahead on the chat, pre-submit them, and we'll go from there. In fact, I'm going to ask you one of the questions, Craig, right off the bat. Sure. Because what's interesting is you helped out at Brother Rice as a coach. And, well, you know, when you take a look at what people, there is a Rhonda Germany Bellenton from Traverse City wants to know, you know, if you were coaching today, think about what you were coaching before, how you played, and you're coaching today in colleges, what would you change? What would you change today?
Oh, wow. I think recruiting is just, you know, kind of gotten crazy. I wish there was a better way to do that. And I don't know exactly what the answer is, but I don't know. It just seems like that's a college football recruiting is just kind of out of hand. It seems to me, just too much crazy stuff going on.
By the way, Dunaway, for those on the Pittsburgh area, Craig played for the Steelers, so you got to be kind of excited to see what they're doing too.
Oh yeah, well, you know, I grew up in Pittsburgh as well,
right.
So was a huge fan of the Steelers growing up. I mean, I grew up there in the 70s, and we actually had season tickets. The first year we had season tickets was 1972. That was the first year the Steelers ever made the playoffs. And my dad and I went to their playoff game against the Oakland Raiders. And that was the game with the Immaculate Reception. So I actually saw that happen live as a kid, 11 years old in the stands. And, 10, 12 years later, I was teammates with Terry Bradshaw and Franco Harris and guys like that. So it's quite an experience.
All right. Next, I'm going to introduce Will James. And, I'll tell you, Will has played at the University of Michigan with the school's 1997 national championship team. And he played in the national championship game. And then he played for a number of years in the pro league. He started out with the New York Giants and then 4 more teams. And he ended up quickly with the Detroit Lions. We can get into all that, but let's show some highlights of Will, and then we'll get in and talk to him about what's going on.
To the bottom. No setbacks except for Church. Off the hands of Powell. Intercepted on the play. William Peterson elevated to the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan.
Nice job of trying to get the ball outside, but when you tip the ball up in the air over the middle, chances are it gets intercepted, and William Peterson in a perfect spot turns it into a big play for the defense. This is really a pretty well-thrown ball. Powell should have had it, even though it was a little high, tipped it right into Peterson's hand. So one of the few times this year, this Michigan defense creating things.
Well, welcome. And, before we get into anything, I think what we need to do is, would you tell people what you're doing, because you're really involved in the community. Talk about your community, where you're at, and what you're doing now.
Well, thanks for having me. Great to be here with you, all of you. But I'm back at home in Pennsylvania, a little bit south of Pittsburgh, so we have some familiarity there. I'm about 30 to 45 minutes south, in a spot called Brownsville, Pennsylvania, which is in Fayette County, right? There's 67 counties in Pennsylvania, and Fayette County is one of the poorest. So I played 10 years in the league, and I retired in 2011. I came straight back home, and I'm right across the street from where I grew up at. But I'm building a community center here. And I've been part of the work of revitalizing this community over the last 10 years. And we went from like a ghost town to now we got 12 new businesses downtown. We have a lot of momentum going in the right direction. And I'm happy to be a part of that. I'm on a different kind of team right now, but it's still the same. We help each other out. We use all the same principles that I learned on campus up there in Ann Arbor.
All right. Okay, Will, good. Next, we're going to bring in Zach Gentry. Let's before we get to him, let's see a couple of highlights of Zach.
Gentry. Patterson uncorks over the middle, caught at the 5-yard line. Zach Gentry again.
Here's Shea Patterson to throw, has all sorts of time, and has a wide open Zach Gentry.
Patterson out of the pocket. Patterson lofts it up and caught at the 40. Zach Gentry.
Team play coming up. And Patterson tosses, touchdown, Gentry.
And Zach, welcome. Hey, unmute yourself so I can talk to you. Will and Craig, Zach probably got a break because he didn't have to work with me here over there. he had the easy thing. I was always rough on you guys, getting you guys in there. But Zach, of course, he's also the Pittsburgh Steelers, drafted in the 5th round, in the 2019 draft. And what's interesting, of course, is he came from Albuquerque. He was a great quarterback at El Dorado High School. And Zach, I'll tell you one quick story. Jay Remersma came from the west part of the state of Michigan. Jay was a quarterback, and then he came here to play tight end, had an unbelievable career. as a tight end. And I'll never forget when they moved Jay to tight end. The first thing I said to Jay is, Jay, when I saw you at a quarterback, I knew you were a heck of a tight end. And Jay turned in and played for the Bills for a number of years. And, you made the move here. And I'm going to get some questions from some people. And Mitchell Mallon out of Farmington Hills, Michigan, wanted to know, you came to Michigan as a quarterback. Do you ever think about what might have happened if you stayed as a quarterback?
I mean, not really. I mean, the first couple of years after I got moved, I really thought about what could have, what would have, because I was transitioning positions and I wasn't doing too well because I had never played tight end. But I don't really look back at it now. I look back obviously with fond memories of being a quarterback, and I miss certain things about it for sure. But I don't really regret it at all. And I'm happy with the way everything's going now. And I couldn't even imagine going back now. So.
Well, I tell you, you guys are having quite a season. How's your knee doing, by the way?
It's good. I just actually had surgery about 3 days ago. So I'm in the facility right now. Luckily, it was just an MCL, so you're looking at 6 to 8 weeks. So you're going to try to get me back come playoff time if we go nice and far.
Good. Well, that's good. So what are they doing? Since they now have time to work with you, Mitch wants to know also, they figuring out a couple of trick plays for you to throw the ball?
I've been trying to get a double pass in. I was in Coach Harbaugh's ear. I've been in Coach Tomlin's ear. I don't know what I got to do to get it done, but I'm going to figure it out at some point. It's going to happen. But I've been itching for the double pass or something, reverse pass for years now. So hopefully that'll get done.
Well, we'll get Dunaway to talk to Tomlin or something like that. And
exactly.
Will can help you to see how it's going to be helped out on that. We're going to bring Eric Rosel in right now. And Eric is joining us, who is played also at the University of Michigan back there. And I'm going to ask all this because we've had some fun. Eric, how you doing, man? Unmute yourself there. Good seeing you, buddy. Good seeing you.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm actually coming to you from Hutchinson, Kansas. Came back to see my mother-in-law here over the Thanksgiving holiday, and so back in my home state, and doing great though, Bruce. Good to see you. It's been a while.
It has been a while. And of course, the reason that I wanted to bring Eric in right now and get Will going and Zach going and Craig is I want to banter a little bit back and forth. And we're going to start with Will. So Zach, you can figure this thing out. You can too, Craig. But I want to talk about roommates, okay? So as we find out here, Eric and Will were roommates. In fact, this is kind of an interesting story. Will was a roommate of Charles Woodson. And Will, first, before you go there, tell me what you told them earlier about being it. Because I asked you, did Woodson gain all his talent from being around you?
I played 10 years in the NFL. And my freshman year at Michigan, they put me with Charles Woodson. And every time I see Wood, and I tell anybody to this day, and there's truth in jest, I always say I played 10 years just off of being roommates with Wood. He rubbed off on me that much, our freshman year. But during the travel games, we were roommates, and we had a lot of good times. I remember actually traveling to Penn State the year that we went undefeated. And the night before, I remember some conversations that we had kind of distinctly, me and Wood, but me and Rosel, what's up, baby?
Unmute yourself there, Eric. We got to get you guys talking. Get Craig in there too, and Zach.
Yeah, me and Rosel have some distinct memories too that we made, and that is so interesting that, I'm 42. I lie about my age so much. I've got to touch it. I'm 41 or 42 or something like that, right? And after all these years, those nights before the games, when we're all together as a family in that hotel and in our separate rooms, those moments, man, they still linger to this day. Some of them still inspire me to this day. But there's one in particular that me and Rosel share, and I'm not gonna speak on it. I'd rather hear from Rosel, and then I'll add if anything that I think that I seen.
Eric, go ahead.
Well, so when we talk about roommates, so Will, you and I were beside each other at Chicago House, right? For what, a couple of years over there. So some stories we can't tell, but I think the one you want me to tell is that highlight that we saw there at the Yeah, we're sitting there and Will, he's caught up in something, man. I don't know, the Holy Spirit's in there. I don't know what's going on in there, but we wake up the next morning And Will says, Rosal, he goes, I had a dream that, what's going to come down to this play, and I'm going to pick this thing off and I'm going to run it back. And it's my day. It's my day, Rosal. And I think everybody saw what those, that highlight that you just played for everybody there a few minutes ago, but it was an incredible thing. And I remember Will came over on the sideline. He comes and grabs me. He goes, I told you. And, it's probably a little more vivid in his memory than mine. I'll never forget, obviously, the conversation and watching that. My jaw just dropped. And to see, I coach youth sports out here, volunteering. You always tell people you got to visualize, right? You got to visualize, what you're going to do, and it'll come to fruition. Man, it Will's the story behind that right there.
That's classic. Absolutely classic. Zach, who was your big roommate at the time? What do you remember from your roommate? Who was it?
Well, the roommate that I had the longest was John Runyon Jr. I lived with him initially getting there. Yeah, Runyon Jr. And then I lived in a house right on State Street across from the field hockey stadium with 5 other guys. It was Runyon and Dunaway for a while, Glasgow, and some of those guys, Wangler. So yeah, we had some good memories. It was Runyon there for a little while, and then I really took for granted living in a house with 5 of my best buddies in college. I live by myself in an apartment now, so it's a little different.
Zach, that was the lumber yard, right?
The lumber yard, yeah.
Is that what you guys called it?
Yeah, the lumber yard.
So this house, the Glasgow family owns it, I believe, and they have since Graham was like a freshman or something. It's been a while they've had it, and I guess it's been a football house for a long time. A lot of different guys, Lawan was in there, I know, and so it dates back a while. But at some point, it was coined the lumber yard. So there's a big sign on the top of the house that says the lumber yard.
Oh, that's interesting. Craig, what you we're going back a few years.
Yeah. My sophomore year, I roomed with Ali Haji Sheikh.
Oh my, okay.
Yeah, great guy, and just it's funny, you wouldn't know this, but I mean he's got a southern accent. He was from Texas. And so anyway, but in those days, not every game was broadcast. You didn't have a bunch of cable channels, so just the regular networks. And so you were only on TV maybe 3 or 4 times a year. And so Ollie's family was in Arlington, Texas, and every Sunday morning after the game, he had to go through every kick he had made the previous day with his dad over the phone. So I can remember laying in bed Sunday morning, Ollie's on the phone explaining to his dad, well, that one went out of bounds and it wasn't really his fault, or that one was good and, it was wide right or whatever. But he just had to go through every single kick he'd made the day before.
Oh, man. Okay, what stories have you heard, Craig, from your son about rooming with Zach?
That's probably not good. Those guys were good. I mean, we would drop stuff off for Jack and got a chance to see just how messy those guys were. And actually, I think Jack might have been one of the neater guys. But everybody else, it was just I don't know why we bought him a hamper. It's like just the clothes are all over the floor. It was a mess, and there was some. You might find a red cup somewhere here or there, and some empty cans of some kind or another. But anyway, it was all in good fun, I'm sure.
And that never happened with you and me. I know that, Craig. So you know what? Since I got all you guys here, and I've got the 3. I've got Eric and Will. They were coached by Lloyd, Zach, Harbaugh, Craig. Of course, you had Bo. Tell me. On a Friday night before a game, we'll start with Craig. We'll go back with the age first on this one. Craig, tell me what was Bo like on a Friday night before the game? And what do you remember about those days? Because early on, you guys had clam chowder, and we'll talk to you about that, Zach. Okay, but Craig, tell us, what do you remember about those nights?
Well, I think by that time, the coaches had done their job. I mean, the hay was in the barn, whatever, cliche you want to use. But I mean, it's nothing, we weren't going to do anything Friday night that was going to change how we were going to do Saturday. We'd already been coached to that point. The thing I remember most though about being at the hotel at the campus and now the Graduate, it was actually on Saturday mornings after you'd had your breakfast. We got our ankles taped. We were ready to go. We hadn't gotten our uniform on. We were wearing our blazers. And anyway, we all 60 of us, we're in a meeting room before we boarded the buses, and everybody's kind of quiet. You're starting to get a little nervous for the game. And it's you could hear a pin drop. And Bo finally walks in, stands at the lectern at the front of the room, and he'd look at us and he'd be quiet, but he'd be staring at us and looking around the room, and he'd say, "I got 11. All I need's 11. Let's go." And he'd turn and walk out the door, and we were all fired up, ready right behind him to get on the buses and head to the stadium.
Okay, what about Lloyd? You two guys, Eric, Will?
Go ahead.
Well, I think it's funny over the years, it sounds that it's a very similar experience, but Will, you brought it up earlier. I mean, these memories that I have from Friday nights and when we were together, they're more vivid than even the games are. I mean, a lot of the things that were said, the movies that we watched, I'll never forget the highlight reels, right? You talk about what the coaches were like. Well, depending on if you won or lost the previous game, right? And if you lost, it wasn't much fun. He came in there and he's throwing remotes. I remember at one deal throwing remotes at the TV screen, but other times he's it's just so exciting because you see the highlight reel, and then I'll never forget, like you, Craig, you walk in, and I transitioned over the offensive side, later in the years, and he had that whiteboard in the offense, and the first couple plays he put on the whiteboard, and you're just drilled in, you're in the zone, and here you go, right? And I keep thinking about, even I get goosebumps this day, sitting in little town Kansas, right? Kansas kid running out there, you got your uniform on, you're going out in that tunnel, and you come out, my God, there's 120,000 people that are sitting there, and here you go, and it's just those memories, like I said, are even more vivid to me than the actual plays on the field.
You too, Will?
Yes, definitely.
Isn't it amazing how sometimes it's everything that's off the field is more memorable than what's on the field? I see that a lot. Is that true with you, Zach? And talk about, now you had Harbaugh. He's, Harbaugh is supposedly a disciple of Bo, but everybody is different in many different ways. Talk about, Jim and the coaches on those nights.
Yeah, I'm sure he shared a lot of the same intensity. He was very intense. He might have been a little more animated than those other guys, I would imagine. But it's funny when you guys talk about, the similarities. It's the same thing. We watch the highlight reel. We'd go in right away. The first thing, offense, defense split up. The offense would watch, like the first 10, 15 plays, the script, and, you make sure you got all that stuff down. And then we'd have, Coach Harbaugh would come in, and he'd usually have something scripted and ready to say. And like you were saying before, it depended upon whether or not we were doing well or not. And we'd watch the highlight reel and watch the team movie. So, but yeah, I totally agree. I even just a couple years removed, I remember that stuff almost more so than the games as well. Just there's nothing like going to the hotel the night before the game. You're going to get a good night of sleep. I was lucky enough to get my own hotel room the last couple of years. You get a good food, you're taken care of. So those are definitely special times, and it's all part of the deal. So it's super nice.
We had a question here from Philip Stahl out of San Diego, and I'm going to start with you, Zach, since you're up there right now. And the most exciting part about playing football in Michigan, and what is the most challenging part? Because it's really an interesting piece. What would you think, Zach?
It was, I guess from just more of a broad perspective is how competitive it is athletically, but how competitive it is academically too. It's, you're not really ever taking a class that you can just kind of forget about. It's got such a good reputation, University of Michigan, for being a good athletic and academic. So that's probably the most challenging thing. Just being able to try to be as well-rounded as you could be on and off the field. That's probably the most challenging thing for me.
Okay, and Will and Eric, what about you guys? Will, we'll start with you.
I say the standard. There's a high standard at the University of Michigan. It's excellence, and not that it's a hard thing, but chasing those goals and trying to measure up to those guys before you. I remember distinctly talking to the guys that had won a national championship 50 years before us. And you've seen those guys come in, you know, they're carrying a banner. When you watch those tapes, we used to watch the tapes of Bo. In my head, to this day, the team. You know, those standards of every day that you had to measure yourself up against. You know, those were I think that's why it creates Michigan men, because the standard is so high, and that is the difficult part. But
Eric, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think Mike Gittleson was probably the hardest part.
Zach didn't have him.
His staff. Yeah. No, I think it's just every day you got to get up and you got to go. I remember Friday mornings, you know, all your buddies from high school or whatever, they're, you know, at home hanging out, and you're there running the golf course at 6 a.m. on a Friday morning. And I remember, I'll never forget waking up at 5:30. It was late in the summer, and I didn't play near as much as other guys did, right? And you're going through the same effort, same drills and everything. And I remember looking over at Billy Seymour at the time and said, man, for about, 20 plays a game or whatever it is, here we go again. Let's go run this course. It's just the constant pressure, like these guys have said. You got to be excited and work your way through it. But God, I miss it. It's a lot of fun, a lot of work.
And Craig,
hey, Bruce,
I
I got a question for you here from one of the club leaders from Pittsburgh. Can you pop on and ask your question real quick?
Sure. Good morning. So I'm Praket Mohal. I'm president of Pittsburgh chapter. So question I have is, how jarring was it when you got to the NFL and started playing against your teammates and started playing with your rivals? Like, was that, obviously it's an easy adjustment, but how jarring is it, like thinking like this guy used to be my rival?
start with Craig, since you're a Pittsburgh, played Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I tell you, when I went to the Steelers, Russell Davis, who had played at Michigan before me, I hadn't even met him before. He was on the roster then, so that was the only Michigan guy that was there. But it was great. I mean, we had that shared experience that we could relate to one another on, and it was, which was awesome. And then and playing against, I'm trying to remember if there were any real rivals on the Steelers then. No contemporary ones, I guess, but I remember after every game, you'd always look over and, as you're walking off the field before heading to the locker room afterwards, you would try to find a guy you'd played with at Michigan on the other side. I remember seeing Ron Simpkins, who was with the Bengals at the time, so guys like that. Ed Moransky was with the Raiders. In fact, the last game, our playoff game, in my one season with the Steelers, we ended up losing to the Raiders, and I saw Ed after that game. So there was some of that, and again, you had that kind of camaraderie and that shared experience, and it was fun to kind of buddy up with a guy afterwards. It depends on who won and who lost as to who had more fun with that conversation, but that's what I recall.
Hey, Will?
I got to play with some Wolverines. Dhani Jones was on the Giants when I got drafted. Amani Toomer, right? He was there with the Giants when I got drafted. And I remember the first year, my rookie year, we went up to New England to scrimmage. Got to see Tom up there. And then we played against, New York and Philly. Great rivalry there. And Jason Avant, right? Jason Avant was with the Eagles. Yeah, so I played against Jason one year, but then I end up, I guess you can't beat him, join him. I joined the Eagles the next year and played with him as my teammate. But it's always fun, like you said, Craig. It's always fun at the end of the game, to look over there and see guys that you played with in college or guys that you know from college at the end of the NFL games.
Zach?
Yeah, I mean, it's a blast. I'm lucky enough to play with Devin Bush, Chris Wormley, Mara Darbo was here for a little while, so I got some Wolverines in the locker room, and also got some rivals in the locker room too. We got some guys from a red team and a green team in here, and so it's different. You kind of get the different perspectives and whatnot, but it's fun too. I mean, just this last week when we played the Jaguars, I was blocking Brandon Watson, and and Jared Wilson, played with both those guys for a little bit. And so it's funny, you know, you see them on the field and you communicate and, you know, you kind of give each other a little wink before the play and, you know, you're going hard. And then after the game, it's, you know, you're swapping jerseys, you're giving hugs. So it's a really cool, neat thing to be able to know somebody at that level and then, you know, get to the next level with them.
Well, we see
Hey,
I've
Bruce.
got Eric Mays up. I see Eric up, so we're gonna get Eric up, and I'm gonna turn this over to Jason here in a second, so he can get a few of the questions. We'll get Eric involved because, of course, got to know about my boy Eric over there. Played on the national championship team, the man on the national championship team, coming in as captain. Great guy, just super guy, doing quite well, by the way. Quite well in post football. But I do want to make one thing because there was a question that came up, and this one has nothing to do. Even Craig, for how old he is, cannot answer this question. Somebody, because they played sax and on the Michigan band at the 1965 Rose Bowl. And that's Terry Boccioni from Santa Monica, California. He played Oregon State. And I don't know if anybody saw that. Oregon State beat Oregon last night in quite a game, quite a finish. But in that game, it was a 34-7 game. That was the last time Oregon State has been to the Rose Bowl. And a gentleman named Mel Anthony set a record by going 84 yards for a touchdown. That was the longest run at the time. And not only that, but, you know, Michigan did an unbelievable job at that point. You had some great players with Timberlake as a quarterback. And one of the great times, but I wanted to get Terry to get that in there. And Craig, do you even remember the game? Because I know those other guys wouldn't. You're not even in there. I'm the one who probably got that one, right?
Yeah, I don't remember that one. I do. I've met some of those guys like Jim Connolly, you know, who were part of that team. And but yeah, and Rick Seeger. In fact, I know his brother Dan and I have worked together for, more than 25 years now.
Dan, of course, what did Dan play?
Yeah, Dan was a baseball player at Michigan. So that's it. And, but anyway, I don't quite remember that game.
It was in black and white, I can tell you that. No color TV at the time. Jason, why don't you get Eric involved in here and tell a little talk and have some questions from some of the club leaders.
For sure. So first of all, Dr. Eric Mays, welcome to the tailgate. Could you just tell everyone, you know, what are some of the things you've been into since your playing days at Michigan? I don't want to tell your story, but let everybody know what you've been up to.
All right. Well, good morning, folks. I know folks are getting ready for this Penn State game today, the State College game. I think this tailgate, the virtual tailgates are great ideas. I'm glad to join you all this morning. And thanks for having me, inviting me. So, you know, after, you know, we had a championship run in Ann Arbor to get the Big Ten and the national championship trophies and brought them to Schembechler Hall. I stayed around. I stayed at Michigan. I went to grad school there, moved back into the dorms and became an RA, believe it or not. So you can just imagine what it was like being the captain of a team the year before and being an RA for a bunch of freshmen and sophomores on North Campus. It was crazy. But I stayed. Afterwards, went to Howard, did a PhD, did a postdoctorate, master's at Harvard, and worked in higher ed. Worked as I've kept a foot in football, done some coaching at the high school level. I coached at Hopkins a little bit, and I worked at Central Michigan. So since then, I've been in higher ed, doing the kind of work that I think is important, which is creating opportunities for guys who are from places like me, so that they can experience some of the stuff we had at Michigan, which is a mountaintop experience. And so, that's the kind of work I've been doing ever since.
All right, thanks, Dr. May. So let's go to Derek from Baltimore. Derek, you want to unmute yourself and ask a question?
Yep, thanks, Jason. I have a two-part question submitted by one of our members. Did you ever have to play in a Penn State whiteout game, which I think may only apply to one of the players here? And more generally, how do you think home games impact the series?
Sounds like a young guy question, at least the first one.
Yeah. Penn State was just Penn State when I played.
I think the whiteout one. Played in two Penn State whiteouts. One of them was during the day my freshman year. We ended up beating them, and then the next one was my junior year on the road at night, prime time, college game day. Saquon Barkley. That's all I'll say about that one. He took one to the house in the second play of the game. But we did really. I think I went my 4 years 3-1. I think that was the only time they got us when I was there. So, I mean, it's tough environments to go into. I mean, that's a tough place to play. So is the big house. So there's definitely a home advantage, but I'm lucky enough to be able to say I got the best of them in my 4 years.
We played them what was considered Judgment Day in college football. We went to Penn State. I think they were second in the country, or we were fourth. And Florida was playing Florida State. I think they were 1-3, and it was 2-4 in Happy Valley. And I mean, the environment was electric. You know, just walking in that stadium. They didn't officially have a whiteout, but it was a whiteout. And that was one of the few places that it was a small contingent of folks with that maize and blue on. You know, and they were just there ready to go. I mean, so loud that the helmets were ringing. But we jumped down that throat real quick, you know, and quieted that crowd. So we took that home field advantage away, really, you know.
Well,
really
I'm going to say something on that game.
early.
Eric, in the game to play, I remember was when Glenn Steele made that big tackle back there. I literally was with Frank Beckman and the crew at that time at Brandstatter, and I said to them, I think we can win the national championship when he made that play. I really did.
Yeah,
Will,
that was
you
an
remember
early
that?
one too.
Yep.
It was early,
Remember?
right, Bruce?
Yes, it was early. You remember that play, Will?
Yeah, Judgment Day. I remember that day very vividly. and Dr. Mays, how you doing?
Excellent. Good to see you, Will. Good to see everybody.
Good to see you. Yeah, good to see you too. And you described it perfectly, man. I remember that. When he said whiteout, I was thinking, first thing I thought was Judgment Day. I don't know if that's the equivalent, but it was, you know what I mean? That was when they got the idea of it right there. But we came in and we took that thing.
I think Razzle remembers that.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that game. I had, again, a little different experience. I was a redshirt freshman that year, and we all, you know, had our workout night before. We were sore, but we were in there watching that game, and just, again, the excitement, electricity, just like Bruce, all his freshmen, we were sitting there, my God, we're going to win this whole thing. You know, it was an incredible game, an incredible evening, and a lot of memories at Penn State. One thing I will note, Zach, is that we were 5-0 from 97 to 01 against Penn State. So we do have that on the set.
There you go.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, guys. So we're going to take another question from one of the club leaders, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the teammate assistance program. But for right now, David from the Los Angeles chapter, would you like to unmute yourself and ask a question?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking my question. I'm David Friedland, the co-president of the LA Club. Loved hearing the roommate stories. And since several of you are on the team that was there, coached by Lloyd Carr, and I was on campus during that time as well, my question is, can you share a favorite story about your experience playing with Coach Carr?
I'll share one. I remember I used to get in trouble. As we all did, right? But Coach Carr gave me a couple chances, and I remember he told me, he says, you're making decisions like you don't want to be here. And he says, okay, this is what we're going to do. You got to meet me at the stadium every morning, 5 o'clock. And whether it was cold, raining, snowing, I had to be at that stadium. I remember sleeping in the Gators. We party all night. I tell them, drop me off at the stadium. I sleep in the Gator. I hear the keys hit him opening up that gate with the dog. I pop up out the Gator, take off running the stadium steps. And still to this day, I remember, and me and him shared moments in those times. You know what I mean? He was able to, I still look at him as a father figure who imparted a lot of wisdom and knowledge and structure in my life. And some of those moments really make that for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I don't want to follow that. You got one? You want to share, Jason?
Well, I didn't get a lot of time on the field, but like Will, I had a lot of challenges in undergrad, and I hit those stairs too, and I just remember the fact it really meant a lot to me that coach just took that investment in me, and a lot of us guys we didn't all come from the same backgrounds, but I really appreciated that he made that investment with me, and he gave me a lot of opportunities, and to this day I still really appreciate him for that. That's all I'll say about it. I won't get into details, but that's the thing. And then everybody knows the sound he used to make. make sure you hear with him. He hit you with that sound. So but those are a couple of things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Eric, what I was going to say is that Lloyd arrived my sophomore year. He came in as an assistant coach. Him and Gary Moeller came back to the team, and Lloyd came with him to replace Jack Harbaugh, who'd gone to Stanford, and Don Nehlen, who had gone to West Virginia. And anyway, I don't think anybody heard him speak for like a year and a half. I mean, he was just a quiet guy, went about his business. I'm sure the DBs all heard him speak because he was their coach. But, as an offensive player on the field, I thought that here's this new guy. I don't even know what his voice sounds like. He was just such a quiet guy.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't pull out one of those elements that I still have right behind me, whether I'm meeting with my staff, whether I am talking to students or hanging out with the children that come into the study. This piece right here from Lloyd was the ice pick, which was a symbol for us to rally around, having a schedule that people said was a mountain and it was the toughest in the country. And he said the only way that we were going to get through that was to pick it one swing at a time. And so this pick right here, we got him at the beginning of the season. And at first, I'll be honest, when he first gave us to, it's like, man, what is that? I don't know what that, but then he tied it around our schedule, which they said was the toughest in the country, and Into Thin Air with Lou Kosiski and the story about the guys climbing Mount Everest. And so the one thing that I remember about Coach, he was a great, when he was coaching and to this day, a great motivator and really a cerebral guy, all right, who could find ways to get a team to rally together.
That's great. That's great, Dr. Mays. That's a great memory. I still got my pick as well. So let's take a quick segment. So we've got a program for football alumni in Michigan. It's called the Teammate Assistance Program. And Craig Dunaway is the chair of that committee. And the purpose of that committee is to provide resources and support to those who need it. And it's typically a discrete program. We don't publicize it, unless someone is willing to discuss their experience. So right now, we're going to bring in Steven Strinko. Steven, you can unmute yourself or use video, whatever you like. And, and with Craig on the line, Steven, if you could just share, a little bit about, some of your experiences with FAM, whatever you're comfortable sharing. We love for people to hear that.
Okay.
And you may want to mute one of your devices.
Can you hear me okay?
See, this is what happens, Jason, when you bring somebody from way back in the 70s. You see the ad from Progressive, "Don't be like your father." Well, we got to talk to strengths on this one.
No. Oh no. I'm getting cut off on the laptop. Can you hear me?
We can, Steve. Yes.
Okay, great. Hey, listen, it's an honor to be able to be here with you guys, and I know I go as far back as any of us here, and having the opportunity to be recruited in the third class that Bo Schembechler recruited at Michigan, and to come full circle here, really, knowing what FAM has meant to me personally is a real it goes to the credit of who Michigan men really are and what we are willing and able to do for each other. I ran into a pretty tough time here recently, and I reached out, and there I am. I look like Uncle Fester. Anyway, I reached out to Fam. I was in a tough way financially and having a hard time making ends meet. And I needed a few things that were, basic, just clothes and food and when it really gets tough, the tough gets going. We've all heard that, but sometimes we need to get going with help. And I was so pleased and overjoyed, and I felt like I was really a part of the team again. Sometimes we get disconnected, and that is an issue that we may all deal with from time to time. But this really gave me the opportunity to once again feel the love and the camaraderie. You can only, I don't know what's going on with my speaker, but it sounds like I'm calling from the moon. But Graham helped me out and gave me a discount in Walmart, got me negotiating some clothes, and I had a situation with my false teeth that I'm in the middle of getting taken care of, and the TAP program reached out and approved giving me some assistance and anyway.
Well, I think what Steve is trying to say, Jason, why don't you tell what FAM has done for Steve?
Yeah, well, I'll let Craig say it, and then we're going to bring in another guest. But Craig, do you want to kind of recap?
Sure.
What FAM did with Steven?
Yeah. So the teammate assistance program was something that we just thought as an alumni group we needed to have because, sometimes some of our guys, stumble and fall, and we need somebody there to help pick them up. And that needs to be all of us. And, I think we all understand the notion of team, having been Michigan football players and part of the Michigan football program. And that's what TAP is. It's the team that you're part of after you leave Michigan. And so when one of our guys needs some help, we're there to help them. And the TAP itself consists of two things really. One is the TAP network, and anybody can join the TAP network. You don't have to be a former player or coach or whatever. You can be, any of the alums can join the TAP network. If you want to, you go to tap.michiganfootballalumni.org, tap.michiganfootballalumni.org. And there's a form there where you can volunteer and you become part of the network. And then if one of our guys needs help, we reach out to the network first. Let's see who might be able to help. If a guy's got dental needs or, some kind of a psychological condition or, who needs a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, we've got folks like that in our network, and we're adding more all the time, and would love for everybody who's listening today to join the TAP network. But anyway, and you don't have to be a doctor or a dentist or a lawyer or anything like that. You could, just somebody who's willing to perform a wellness check on somebody or grab some groceries for somebody, ground transportation, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's so, anything that, anybody can do for one another. But anyway, that's the TAP network. The other part of TAP is the TAP fund. And, sometimes it takes money to solve some of these challenges. And so we accept completely tax deductible, fully tax deductible donations. And, with, what is it? You got Black Friday we just had yesterday. We got Cyber Monday in a couple of days. After that is Giving Tuesday. So if you guys are thinking about giving for a charity or something like that, consider the TAP fund. At the same web address I gave before, tap.michiganfootballalumni.org, there's a donation form, so you could contribute there. The last thing I'll say about it too is that, from a player standpoint, a lot of our guys are they're proud. I mean, we all played football for Michigan, and we're not used to asking for help, and some guys don't want to ask for help. So if you do know of a guy who former part of the program, who's having a tough time, let us know. You can do it again at the same place I told you before, tap.michiganfootballalumni.org. There's a form there as well where you can let us know if there's somebody who's in need of help. We keep all this completely confidential. The only time, we'll publicize anything like Steve did today is when the recipient of assistance, is willing to do that. And Steve obviously was, and we've been happy to help Steve. He's got some new dentures coming, helped him with clear up some old tuition debts, which will allow him to continue to pursue some graduate degrees that he's in on the path towards. So anyway, that's what TAP's all about. Again, it's part of being that, that team that we loved it, when we were playing. Now it's the team that we're part of afterwards.
Jason, I'm going to turn this back over to Jason. I'm going to turn this back over to you. I got to get moving, help out Brandy and Deerdorf for going there. We see Dwayne Patman's on there. I want to say bye to Craig, Will, Eric, and Steve. And Steve, I hope you're feeling better. Hope, Zach, you got to get better. You guys stay in touch with me. I'm sorry I'm not going to be on with Patman. I love the man. Love you guys. Go Blue. Let's beat Penn State.
Go Blue, Bruce.
All right.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce.
Before we bring Patman on, let's get this last question out of the way here from Nick from Northern New Jersey. Nick, you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi, everyone. This is Nick Kahn. I'm the president of the Michigan Club of Northern New Jersey. So Thanksgiving was a couple of days ago. What was it like being on the team celebrating Thanksgiving away from your family?
Well, before I played, the schedule was a little different. The Ohio State game was always the Saturday before Thanksgiving. So, it's only been in recent years that we had to deal with it. For us, it was like, that was when you got to head home, and you'd have to hustle back for the football bus would be like the Monday after Thanksgiving. So it wasn't a big deal for us.
Yeah. For us, it was like perfect. It was Thanksgiving and then beat, the team in Columbus. It was, that's just what happened. They would come in highly ranked, 2-3, thinking that they were going to throw some roses on the field. We would listen to the seniors, and they would just say, listen, the Ohio State game, it'll take care of itself. Don't worry about it. And I would be like, man, this number 2 team in the country. We've got 4 losses. Listen, don't worry about it. It'll take care of itself. And so we had a great Thanksgiving. We would eat our turkey, let the game take care of itself, and then celebrate, ruining their season.
You also got to see a whole bunch of first-time, college kids making turkey for the first time too. I've got great memories of guys coming over, and we're trying to whip up whatever our traditions were at the house, and trying to do Thanksgiving dinner. And then one year, I think it moved the game. We're actually in Hawaii, and Will, I think maybe were you on that trip out to Hawaii?
Yep.
Yeah. So man, Thanksgiving, you couldn't beat it. Not only did you not have to deal with family back at home, you're with your brothers, and like Eric said, you got an Ohio State game coming up in a few days.
Mr. Dunaway, you had to deal with me at Thanksgiving a couple years back.
That's right. It was great having you here.
I wasn't about to cook.
No, that's right, Zach. Yeah, we had Zach over for Thanksgiving dinner one year. That was great. Really enjoyed it.
Hey, Craig. So we had I brought this up last tailgate. So we had a freshman when we went to the Rose Bowl named Tanus, and then Ed Moransky talked about it, and they used to have this competition, and they used to eat, see how much beef you could eat. Tanus ate a few too many for Coach, and then Ed Moransky said he won the beef bowl. So how was Zach at that table? Did he throw it down at the table, or how was it?
Zach, he represented well. He did a very good job, and we didn't have quite as many leftovers that year as we do this year, for instance. But yeah, that's right. It was kind of our version of the beef bowl. It was the turkey bowl here. It was good.
All right, thanks, guys. All right, so I'm gonna D. Patman, Dwayne, man, unmute yourself, and I know you're at work, man, but turn your camera on. These guys want to see you, man.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
DP.
Good. As soon as we can see your face.
I'm driving back to the station. I'll probably be there in like 2 minutes. So, yeah, I'm glad to hear everybody on there. Will P, roommate,
What up?
Brother, I love you forever. I'm trying to see everybody. I think I saw Eric Mays, Zeus, Eric Rozelle, across the room, roommates. I've never met you, Zach, but hello. Who else is there? Jason, thanks for having me. If I miss anybody, I apologize. I'm trying to scroll through and not crash. So, but
yeah, but hey, be safe, man. Be
we're
safe.
safe out here. We're safe out here.
Yeah. What so while you driving, man, you know why don't we'll let guys talk about you a little bit. So Will P, what you got any memories with Dwayne Patton that you want to share while he's driving? You got a memory?
What's up, man? Good to hear your voice, brother.
Oh, it's good to hear you, Will.
Yeah. Got great memories. Got great memories with DP. You know, me and Dwayne had the privilege of being roommates in college, but also when I got to the Giants, me and DP were roommates there too. We got a house together. We stayed with each other for a little bit, for a year. And so I've always seen DP as a family. And I remember, I think it was a couple months ago when this memory popped in my head, and I know he's gonna know what I'm talking about. So I was thinking about, I think maybe Whit was or somebody was down, and how we used to spend our days away from the field. And that's what happened. It popped up on the screen, The Godfather. We used to sit in the room and rent The Godfather 1, 2, 3, and we would spend, you could spend like 3 days watching those trilogies, right? And I mean, there might have been class going on at the same time. I don't know. There was conflicting schedules, you know what I mean? But I remember having so much fun just chilling, being so in tune. Me and DP was into that Godfather. We sit in that room and have a good time, man. That's one of my favorites. But we did so much together. Y'all know, Mr. Spots, Campus Corner, Chowder and Cream, you name it, man. We had those memories together as roommates.
Yeah,
the
funny thing about it is, obviously everybody's going there for, football and education is number one thing. But as you get there, you start to realize we have common backgrounds, whether it's, family structure or just mentality. And you realize, like, we've been away from each other for 18 years because we didn't know each other, but we have the similar background, similar likes, similar dislikes, similar ambition, even off and on the field. So, and that's why a lot of times the 97 through 2000, even before that, or even as long as Michigan's been alive, that's why on the field, for the most part, that's why the winningest program, for the most part on the field, did the wrong thing. That's why for the most part on the field that we get along, because once you get along, the football thing kind of takes care of itself. So just, I can go up and down everybody that we play with, we get along with, and we just enjoy each other's company.
Definitely.
Hey, Zeus, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I'll say this. Patman came in, he had this quiet demeanor, he wouldn't say a whole bunch. Man, his back pedal was real smooth, and then he would just break on the ball and just hit you. He's like, oh, okay. I think California, right? Is California? Is that where you from? Where? Is that right? Is Patman from California?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be like,
yeah,
man,
I think you're from Cali, yeah.
That quiet kid from California, we got quarterbacks from California. You're like, man, that quiet kid from California will hit you, and won't say nothing to you after he hits you. Just get up and go back to the huddle.
That's true. That's true. So, D. Patman, I don't know if you can hear us, man, but if you could still hear us, you could tell people what you're doing. But otherwise, I'll give people a little bit of background. For everybody listening, he's currently a firefighter, out in California. So, he's really taken service to the next level. And you know, we appreciate him, you know, being a first responder in many cases, and you know, taking that spirit and that courage, you know, for his community. So he'll probably log back in a minute, but I'm going to go to a question here. This is from I'm going to modify it. It's from Noel Hornbacher, and it talks about the trend of U of M football players excelling. So I'm going to tweak his question, and, you know, to everybody on here, because we got varying degrees, you know, some people still playing and some people retire, but what are some things that you've taken from your lessons at Michigan so that you could continue to be successful, you know, off the field? Are there any principles and anybody remembers that helps them be successful off the field? Dwayne, I see that you're on now, man. Can you hear? You want to take this question or you want to wait? All right, go ahead. I'll let somebody else take the question.
I should take it. I'll go. Or either way.
Go, Dwayne, go.
So just the question was how some of the attributes on the field we use off the field. Is that correctly?
Yeah. How did you translate it off the field? And if you could turn on your camera, fine. But if not, then, you know, that's cool.
All right. Let me. I'm trying to do this multitask. All right. Camera should be gone. Coming on right now.
Yeah, we got you. Oh, it's just
Okay.
went off, and now it's on. Yeah,
Oh, man. All right. Sorry about that. All my kids are in. Here it is. Yeah, one of the big things that I would say across the board is it's in everyone's background is discipline. I mean, whether you have a high level of discipline or you're taught there by the time you leave, you're gonna have discipline. You know, like, excuse my French, but beat into you. So, and that goes across from, like, you know, I know, you know, Dr. Eric Mays is a doctor now, so that takes discipline. I know Eric Rosal, from what I talked to you, he does some kind of sales. And in another memory of Eric Rosal, he's the first one that took me out in I think it's a twin engine plane that flying over Ann Arbor because he had his pilot license. And that just goes to show you that the discipline and the dedication it takes to whatever we do, we're going to do it 100% to our best of our ability. And we're type A personalities, which means we're going to try to be perfectionists in everything we do. So, and you know, how that translates obviously on the field, you have to, there's such a thin line of winning and losing. You have to be disciplined. You know, Eric Mays talks about my smooth back pedal. I try to get off of Will P just because we were out there in the summers and trying to just hone our craft. And I think the good thing about Michigan and even what my profession right now as a firefighter is that it was never an ego thing. We never tried to hinder each other. We always tried to push each other, which allowed growth. Like I was never in competition with Will P, even though, you know, we wanted to be better than not each other, but we just want to be the best self. And so I think it just, and then there's so many attributes that all of us have that we you know, whatever we did, we would be successful in it because the baseline was discipline, ambition, and a team help attitude where if I needed something or someone else needed something, we're like one of the first people to reach out and do it for them.
Tremendous.
Oh, that's great, Dwayne. Dr. Mays, you know, I don't know when the last time you seen Dwayne Patman was, but you know, you remember him being a freshman at Michigan, and you see him now front line, you know, for his community. You know, what's running through your mind right now as a captain, and when you see these guys around and where they are, what's going through your mind right now?
Well, Jason, I love it. Like, and it's almost like twofold. I'm not surprised. I don't want to take anything away from all of the accomplishments of the guys, but at Michigan, the expectation was for the position. And that's where we were told, I don't care where you're from. I don't care what you did in high school, when you get here and you put on that jersey and you play this position, the expectation has already been set, and that is excellence. And so I think a lot of the guys took this saying, take it wide, and people may not understand that. Like, it's one thing to run around the field and not cross the lines, but it's another thing to go wide. And who takes the extra step to go wide? And so that was one of the things that was drilled into us when I was there, is to take it wide. And I've seen that, man. We've got guys, and again, we didn't start that. We just followed the tradition that was set by guys like Craig, like guys that came before us, like Steve, like that 69 team, and those teams that came after, the 47 team, the 48 team that we met at the Rose Bowl celebrating their 50th anniversary. So that's the beautiful thing about Michigan. Like, the bar has already been set. And this is one of the things Lloyd said. He's like, hey, you all took it one more notch and you made it tougher to coach here. You made it tougher to play here. And so everybody accepts, when you have a fight song that says leaders and best, where else can you go but to the top? And that's the expectation. And so I love it. I love to see the guys to have so much success. I expect it. We sit around and we talk about our families and vacations and all of this other stuff. And we get to talking about the game and what happened and who shoulda and coaching calls and all of that stuff. But the beauty is that it's a place that has demonstrated such excellence academically, athletically, that it's then translated into personally and professionally.
All right, thanks, Dr. Mays. Hey, Zach.
Hey, can I say something real quick, Jason?
Sure, go ahead.
It's funny you piggyback, and I don't know how if everyone has kids. I know a lot of us do. It's funny what we translate and we try to use messages as kids, whether it's Gittleson, where you're saying the truest measure of pulling yourself up is the ability to put yourself in any situation, or like Aaron was saying, go wide. How about this one? Through the line. Like, anytime my kid does anything, like, it doesn't even have to be like serious. No, run through the line. Like, not like to the line, through the line. Like, so there's no doubt of you not. And I see Will P like working with his boys, and that's just something like I know we have in us, we have our discipline that we've done, high school, whatever, but it's like everything we take it. It's a next step. It's like, okay, all right, whatever you did to get at Michigan, that's great. All Americans, whatever, but we're gonna take it to the next step, and we're gonna put it, and it's like through the line, and I'm sure there's other programs like that. But as far as Michigan, that's ingrained in you, through the line, pulling your. It crosses over, and it's funny, like I'm not saying goosebumps, but I get like it's a puffed up chest is like, I'm part of this community, not only, of the people we're around, but it's just like success is just, it's not expected, but it's pretty close to it. And so in the success, it doesn't have to be like these big, what you think is what the world thinks is success, but it's, every time I see Will P, going Brownsville, he took it to like, you know what, I'm going to change my city, as big as I can. And then if everyone does that, like, okay, I'm going to change my city for the better, because I came out and I brushed myself off. I didn't have all the best situations like a lot of us did. And despite that, I'm not only going to come back successful, I'm going to come back and make, Will P's probably going to shake his hand, but other little Will P's, not in the same instance, but I'm sure, like, if 20 years from now you got somebody, a college, a player that comes back and just it takes whatever you've done to the next level, or Eric Mays, or Eric Rozzo, or Zach. I don't know you, but the expectation is it doesn't matter if I don't know you, because I know whatever you're doing is great. So it doesn't even matter, So sorry, I've been out of this, and anytime I can talk to guys, it just, it's like I said, you're proud. I know Michigan football in itself is not doing well, but we do things like this, and you're like, you know what? things are bigger than football. Football's, don't get me wrong, it's huge, but you know, we're making this, you know, as much as as many as us as there are, we're making a huge difference, because when you got like a 99% success rate through like whatever we do, then we're making it a little bit better. All right, I'm gonna stop for a little bit.
Nah, man, that's great. So, and we'll do a couple more things before we close out the program. But Zach, man, you know, I want you to unmute yourself. I know you weren't expecting this, man. We got a lot of guys on here from different eras, and I think one of the benefits, like Dr. May said, is that when we were around, man, guys used to come by from all eras, and no matter how much you play, no matter what your position, you felt that energy for him, because, you know, you had to hold yourself up to a standard. So my question to you today is, you know, what are you feeling about these stories? And, you know, and I know you're rehabbing your injury now, and but how are you just feeling about this energy that you get today from these Michigan men?
It's special, man. It's unbelievable. It's cool to hear the, you know, the similarities and the parallels throughout, you know, the decades and generations and everything. Not that you're that old, Mr. Dunaway, or anything, but
I know.
You know, I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome. And, you know, one thing that always sticks out to me too is, you know, you're talking about the guys that played before you, and there's just such a rich tradition of Michigan. That was one of the first things that I recognized when I went to Michigan, when I visited even, and on my first couple of years, my sophomore year, Tom Brady came, and, you know, we were all kind of on the edge of our seats thinking, you know, what's he going to say to us? It was before the Hawaii game, and he just stood up there, cool, calm, and collected, and he just said, you know, think about who was wearing their jersey before you. And he looked around and he pointed just about every number that everybody was wearing. He's, you know, remember who used to wear number 80? Remember who used to wear number? And he'd name 30 people like over and over, and we were just like, wow. You know, he was naming people and ex-players from, you know, 20, 30, 40 years ago, and he just sat there and named probably 30 or 40 players, you know, that wore the same number. Remember this person, do it for this person. And so that always really stuck out to me, and it just kind of helped me understand, you know, how big of a deal it was to be able to wear, you know, the same uniform and the same number as the people that came before you. And then, you know, like you said, a lot of ex-players stopped by throughout the years, and would come give us wise words, and you know, very, very special. It's you know, meeting and getting to know a lot of guys in the locker room here. It's not like that everywhere, and that's for sure.
Thanks, Zach. That's great. So, Craig, you know, right now you would be the elder statesman. So, you know, you've seen a lot of Michigan football. You've got a lot of experiences, and, you know, generationally, you know, we're, you know, uniting the alumni base. But, you know, if you had a message, you know, to give to some of the younger guys, some of the guys who are playing, you know, right now, and in the NFL, like what would you say to them about the importance of this family? You know, is there a thought you could share? We can go around and after this, but Craig,
Sure.
You can kick it off.
Sure. No, I tell you what, it is, it feels more and more special with each passing year, you know, and I know that for me, there was a time after I graduated and I had a very brief NFL career, and got into the regular world and started working, and there was a time when I kind of drifted away from Michigan, but then something pulled me back, and you just, there comes a point in time where you do want to reconnect with the school, with the program, with the people you were around back then, and so, you know, heed that call when it happens. And, you know, all of you guys are here now, and I hope it's already happening with you. And Zach, you know, you'll see what I mean in a few years, I'm sure. But, you know, those times that you have now, you learn so much, you develop so much. Think about how you are when you walk in. Zach, I remember your first day on campus in June of 2015. Jack was with you, but you know, how much you grow from that point until the time you leave is amazing. And the things that you learn, like we're talking about, the whole idea of through the line, and, you know, and the idea of preparing and time management, and, you know, just what you learn playing major college football at an academic institution like Michigan, those are going to be lessons that are going to last for your entire life, and you pass them on to your children. And it's that's what makes Michigan so special.
William, you got anything you want to say, Will?
I always think of Michigan, especially compared to the pros, as the last time I was really on a team. Like, I remember the old video I used to always watch. You'll play for this, you'll play for that, but you'll never play for a team again. You had Bo I believe gave that speech.
Yep.
And after that, you realize the wisdom in it, because you're sitting in the locker room, and I remember I played for, I was in the Giants for 5 years. Then I was with Philly, and I got to bounce around to a couple of different organizations, etc. And so I got to see the business side of it very well. And once you leave the college ranks, it's like the team factor. It's also your teammate's gone, right? There's another one here. And we're trying to put together something special in the pros, but it's never as special as that moment in college, because I think we could talk about all the intricacies that go into that, being away from home, on campus, freedom, etc. But there's something about it that is definitely special, and it definitely retains. And I speak for myself in this. I think Craig said it best in terms of it gets better every year as I continue. As I age, it's like I have sons now, right? So I took my 3-year-old to his first game 2 years ago, and we went to the Notre Dame game, right? And so now I'm starting a tradition with my sons where every year I'm gonna take one to a game by themselves, and I'm gonna take another one to a game by themselves, and so that gives us a moment. So it's going to continue now, and it's all because of those college years that are so special. And
all right, thanks. And since we're getting short on time, Dr. Mays, I'll let you answer that question. So after this question, after Dr. Mays answers this question, we're going to roll into the closing sequence with James Earl Jones, who's also an alum. But I want to thank Craig, William James, Rosal, D. Patman, and Zach. Thank you all so much for participating in this. And this is what it's all about. It's all about bringing guys together from across different generations and bringing that reconnection back to us and to the universities. So thank you all for saying it. Dr. Mays, take us out, give us your perspective on, a message that you would give, to current players and just about being a Michigan man.
Yeah. Well, first I want to recognize FAM. What you all are doing to connect football alumni is in the midst of a pandemic is exceptional. And so I want to recognize you all for doing this kind of work and so much other stuff that you all do in programming. But and great job on this, Jason, facilitating these. So Jim Mandich was a tight end on Bowl's 69 team. He also went down to the Dolphins and was part of that undefeated Super Bowl team that folks still haven't caught in terms of a perfect season. Tom was close, but they still have that. Jim came back to talk to us about a story, and he talked about the idea that when you get up to the plate, he was like, and I think he was telling us about one of his sons, and and the story was that you get up there and his son or whoever it was worried about hitting and scared to strike out, and so 3 strikes in a row, they never swung the bat and they were out. And so it happened a couple times, and Jim said, listen, son, I don't care if you strike out, but I need you to swing the bat. And so to me, the message that I give, because we all deal with adversity, and this is inside football, outside of football, this is in that tradition, go out swinging, swing the bat, don't get caught looking. And when we think about our life, we think about that opportunity, we think about what we take away from Michigan and that mountaintop experience, putting on that winged helmet, swing the bat. You know, if you're going to go out swinging. And so that's the message I give to those guys today that play, to those guys that'll play tomorrow, and for us that played yesterday.
This is the University of Michigan.
What a football game we're going to have here this afternoon.
You are looking live at a sold-out
103,000. Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor. And the football game from Ann Arbor.
The nation will rock with the praises of the maize and blue this evening.
Where we respect integrity and honor excellence.
The jubilation and cheering long into the night.
Here come the Wolverines.
We are loyal Wolverines.
Today, your football team is #1 in the country, and it's all right here.
Standing for Midwestern values, hard work, determination, and an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
The old season is over. It's going to be Michigan again.
We are the best university in the world. Students and athletes and professors achieving at the highest level. You better believe it. This is our legacy and our future. We are proud members of the Big Ten Conference in pursuit of national championships.
We'll win this championship.
We have won more games than any team in the country. No one has won more. We believe in football.
We did it.
Championship football.
He has on the telephone.
McClellan up in the air. Touchdown! Touchdown, Billy Taylor! Shoelaces flopping in the wind.
We shy away from no challenge or opponent.
Brady.
We bow to no man. We bow to no program. We are Michigan.